mean,
great HD.
There is an overhang that has to be, what, 25 feet in front of us? And we're getting wet in the booth in here. I mean, that is how strange the conditions are here tonight.
They're not even going to try to have Josh Brown kick it off the tee. We've already got the holder. They're not going to wait for it to blow off. Seattle will be moving right to left across your screen. The 49ers will be receiving the opening kickoff. Kelly Jennings is the holder. Maurice Hicks is back to receive. This one goes out of the end zone, assisted by that Gus. Let's go ahead and set San Francisco's offense for you. Alex Smith was the top pick in last year's draft. Now in his second season, he has shown dramatic improvement, but has still thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. Running back Frank Gore having a terrific season, leads the NFC in rushing. Antonio Bryant's the deep threat. Rookie Vernon Davis is a monster at tight end. That's their #1 pick. The Niners' offensive line has struggled to find consistency. All-world left guard Larry Allen is in his 13th season. Tackle Quayne Harris anchors the right side. Frank Gore, the lone back behind Smith. That's Norris in motion. Gore brought down by Ken Hamlin gives us a chance to set Seattle's defense. Grant Wistrom, Rocky Bernard, Chuck Darby, Bryce Fisher make up the lightest front four in the NFL. Behind them, Julian Peterson starts outside after spending 6 years in San Francisco. Lofa Tatupu, the leading tackler, is in the middle. Left corner Marcus Trufant is the key to Seattle's secondary. Ken Hamlin starts at strong safety. The other safety is a converted cornerback, Jordan Babineau. It's 2nd and 7. Gore with his second carry. Skipping left, crossing the 25 before he's stacked up. Leaving Smith with a 3rd and 5.
Well, the Seattle Seahawks are leaving no question what their strategy is going to be. They've got their safety, Ken Hamlin, right down there as almost like a 4th linebacker. In the first game between these two teams, the feeling was Seattle tried to get a little cute, bring him down late, and Frank Gore got him. In this game, they're just bringing Ken Hamlin down right from the start.
This is 3rd and 4. This will give us an early indication of how much Mike Nolan is willing to let Alex Smith put the ball in the air on such an inclement night. Gore jumps early. It'll go to 3rd and 9.
Well, Frank Gore saw what he thought was a blitz coming and leaned a little bit into it and got caught.
Number 21, offense. 5-yard penalty remains. 3rd down.
Yeah, now you get into a whole strategic thing, whether or not you're going to try to pick up first downs on a 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11 in these kinds of conditions, or do you simply hand the football off, try to punt it, try to play field position? And my guess is the 49ers will be pretty conservative here.
Gore's the lone setback. That's Davis coming your way. Swings it outside for Gore, overthrows him, and the 49ers will be 3 and out.
And that ball came out a little strange out of Alex Smith's hands there, and I think that we really have to keep an eye on him tonight and how well he's going to be able to handle this wet football. Some quarterbacks can. I can remember Troy Aikman tell me that the first thing he did every day was get up and watch the Weather Channel because he lived in fear of these kind of rain conditions.
He didn't like a wet ball?
Hated it. Some quarterbacks, it's no issue at all. For some, it is.
Andy Lee with our first putt of the night. This is Burleson getting it on the first top and being swarmed under. Ball's loose. Looked like Seattle may have gotten it. Brian Jennings with the hit on Burleson. We'll have to wait until they umpire.
Well, there you have an indication of what this night's going to be like. There are going to be times when a punt is your best play because of how difficult it is to hang on to this ball. And if the 49ers come out with this one, that they don't.
Indication is Seattle. Over/under on turnovers tonight, pal. What do you want to call it?
I'm thinking about 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
Look at it. I mean,
that is Oliver Celestin being credited with the recovery at the bottom of the pile.
There had to be 7 different sets of hands on this ball. and nobody could pick it up. And the ball right now is as dry as it's going to be. It's going to get worse from here. I think they have 24 footballs in play tonight, but by the end of the first quarter, they'll probably all be drenched.
So the Seahawks will start their operation from just inside their own 40, and Hasselbeck will throw on first down. Overthrowing, picked, and dropped. Brandon Moore had it in and out of his arms. What could have been a big turnover early in this ball game.
Can I adjust it to 8 or 9? Whatever.
I was going to say the over-under may have to be 9 on the turnovers.
I mean, so far we've seen how many plays? Maybe 5 plays, and the ball's been loose on 2 or 3 of them already here. And it's, well, if the wide receivers can't catch it, you know a linebacker's not going to be able to catch it.
Brandon Moore, 50-year player out of Oklahoma, had one right in his arms. He'll regret that one. This is Sean Alexander getting his first carry of the night, looking for room outside and barely getting past the line of scrimmage. Let's set Seattle's offense for you. As we've noted, Matt Hasselbeck has missed 4 games this year with a knee injury. He's still thrown for 16 touchdowns, been intercepted 11 times. Sean Alexander, as last year's MVP, starts in the backfield. Darrell Jackson, Seattle's leading receiver, is out. Nate Burleson gets a start. Up front, left tackle Walter Jones remains a standout. Rob Sims starts in place of the injured Floyd Porkchop Womack. Chris Spencer's in at center for the veteran Robbie Tobin. Third and 9, Hasselbeck throwing this side, connected. Deion Branch, first down Seattle.
Now that was a throw there. Matt Hasselbeck, we had heard that he is a very good wet ball thrower, and I guess that's one of the prerequisites if you're going to be the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. But he dropped back and just ripped this throw. Perfect spiral. And so many times when you get in a bad weather game, you know that you're going to have to keep that ball tight into the wind to be able to make these kinds of throws.
First down Seattle, just past midfield. Alexander will get it again. And as he gets back to the line of scrimmage, maybe a gain of 1. Let's set the defense for San Francisco. Their front 4 features Melvin Oliver, a rookie at one end, and 13-year veteran Bryant Young at the other. Linebacker Brandon Moore leads the team in sacks. Jeff Ulbrich starts in the middle for the team's leading tackler Derek Smith, who's out with a quad injury. Walt Harris is the star of the secondary with 6 picks. Keith Lewis, Mark Roman, Shante Spencer round out that group. Alexander trying the right side for the first time tonight. Shante Spencer coming up with the stop.
You know, it really has been a very strange year for Sean Alexander, coming off of really the tremendous season that he had a year ago, in which he set the NFL record with 28 touchdowns, led the NFL with over 1,800 yards rushing, and this year with the foot injury and trying to come back. And I was talking to him about it, and he said that and all the changes on the offensive line. So when we used to study film, all we would study is the opponent. Now I'm still trying to figure out what our guys are doing, and it's a very different year.
Third and 5, Hasselbeck over the middle, completing. Deion Branch once again. Nope, they're calling this one incomplete.
Well,
and you know what? It has stopped raining.
Yeah, Hasselbeck with no problems, but for Deion Branch, just gets through his hands. I mean, he really had the football. He made the catch, but what happens is your arms get slimy. So once you try to cradle it into your arms, it hits that wet spot on your forearm. It's
I'm laughing. Your arms get slimy?
Slimy, yeah. I'll try to use smaller words as I go.
No, I understand. I know wet. I don't know slimy.
Slimy.
This will be a fair catch just at the 16-yard line. Brandon Williams there on a rainy night in Seattle at Quest Field. We're scoreless, 5 minutes into the first period. Lovely look at Seattle on a Thursday night where we're back at Quest Field. The temperature is pretty comfortable here, but the elements are difficult. As you can see, the wind is picking up. It's blowing out of the southeast. That's the closed-end section of this beautiful stadium. Frank Gore working his way past the 18-yard line before being brought down by Kevin Bentley.
Boy, and I tell you, the Seattle Seahawks defensively are just in straight man-to-man coverage and playing everybody else at the line of scrimmage and basically daring Alex Smith to try and throw the football against them. But when you have a weapon like Frank Gore, it's also hard to get away from him.
Moreeeee Norris's. The up back gores deep. Smith will throw on second down. Couldn't tell if that was tipped or not.
I really don't know who he was intending that ball for, but you can see he's very tentative. Remember back to where Matt Hasselbeck was making that throw, and he just let it rip. You got this one, it just kind of
slipped out of his hands, it seemed.
That's ugly. I mean, some guys can and some guys can't, and so far it looks like Alex Smith can't, but long night, we'll see.
He's faced with another throwing third down. It's 3rd and 7. Pressure on his left side, incomplete. Intended for their #1 draft pick, Vernon Davis, and once again, the 49ers will have to punt.
You know, he was telling me, Alex Smith was telling me that last year there were actually games on the road in which during his drop back, he was thinking about the grip on the football before they changed the rule in which the quarterbacks were able to rough up the footballs a little bit and bring your own on the road and all that. And he said, so far this year hasn't been a problem at all. I feel so much better. But he looks like he's thinking about this wet ball when he's dropping back now. I could almost see it in his eyes.
Andy Lee will punt it away to Nate Burleson. It is Burleson who coughed it up the last time. He'll field this one at his 33 and fair catch it there. And Seattle's offense will take the field for the second time tonight with 9:39 to go in the first in a scoreless game in Seattle. Didn't you?
Yeah, Dion was on that team, wasn't he?
Then I definitely had him higher. Hasselbeck will throw on first down, swings it wide to Max Strong, regaining his feet, getting back to the 35-yard line.
You know, a lot to talk about with this Seattle offense. We'll start with Matt Hasselbeck, of course, coming back from the knee injury that had him out for a few games, and saying that they had this really restrictive tape job on that knee and a big brace that they had on there. And he didn't mind the brace so much, but the tape job was really bothering him. Last week they finally took it off, and you could tell the difference in his play.
Sean Alexander working his way back to the line of scrimmage. Bobby Ingram is in, and that's a pleasant sight for anybody who's ever crossed paths with that veteran receiver out of Penn State. Bobby's had a lot of problems. He had a thyroid condition. He had an accelerated heart rate, and he's missed 8 games.
And Hasselbeck really missed him. He said that that's the guy I trust the most, that when he runs a route out of the slot, usually on third down, he said, I know exactly what he's going to do and where he's going to be.
Max Strong is alone in the backfield now. Hasselbeck swings it this way. That's DJ Hackett being pushed out at midfield. Hackett coming off his first 100-yard game as a receiver in a losing effort last week in the desert against Arizona.
And there's some conflict of opinion as to whether or not DJ Hackett doesn't belong in the starting lineup for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, that's not just from 1 or 2 players and coaches, and I'm not going to give these guys up, but a lot of people think that despite all the big money to Burleson and Deion Branch and Darrell Jackson, that this kid doesn't belong in the game.
Hasselbeck completing this one once again to Hackett.
And the thing about DJ Hackett is that here's a guy that was a basketball player. And when he came here, he really didn't know that much about the nuances of playing receiver and how to read zones and how to get open and all those kinds of things. But he knows how to use his body. And if you saw the game last week, a couple times he went up between defenders, sort of like got rebound position, made big plays, and Hasselbeck's getting really confident in him.
Hackett, a second-year man out of Colorado, and this time Alexander's going to be thrown for a loss. Give Marcus Douglas out of Howard University credit for that stuff. Good penetration.
Yeah, and that's something you didn't see much out of the Seattle offense a season ago. Usually when they ran left, it was pretty sweet running to the left. Or Steve Hutchinson now with the Minnesota Vikings and that whole crazy thing with his contract. But this was a team that when they ran left behind Hutchinson and Walter Jones, more often than not, it was for big yardage.
Well, Walter told us he was actually working on good communication with Porkchop Womack there, but Womack is inactive tonight, and Robbie Sims is starting at left guard. This one off the hands of Deion Branch and almost picked. Walt Harris defending.
And Walt Harris has really been a tremendous asset for this 49ers team. Already 6 interceptions on the year. Yeah, I thought the ball was tipped just a little bit before that. It looked like Mark Roman got his hand on it, just to tip it away at the last second. And Walt Harris had a shot.
It'll bring us to a 3rd down, 3rd and 13. Hasselbeck throwing long over the middle, incomplete. Intended for tight end Jeremy Stevens. Chad Williams defending.
And you're not hearing something like a love chant here. This is a boo, a legitimate boo. If you know Jeremy Stevens' history at all, go back to the Super Bowl a year ago. His drops made a major difference in that ball game, and he just has lost confidence. You can tell he doesn't handle it when the coaches scream at him. He loses more confidence. Hasselbeck tries to build him up the best he can, but really has trouble adjusting to the ball in the air.
We see Ryan Plackmeyer for the first time tonight. Punting this one down. Seahawks trying to down it. And it looks like they did it successfully at the 5-yard line. Great play down there by Marcus Weeks. He was the one who jumped in the air and batted it back into the field of play without going past the end line. 6:29 to play on the first. We're back after this. Back in Seattle, where the 49ers offense has had trouble getting on track. They've had 2 3-and-outs and now are forced to start from their own 5-yard line.
And you have a young quarterback in one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL, backed up. Can't make a mistake here.
Frank Gore gets the call and tries to find some running room. Give him a gain of 2 before Russell Davis with the stop.
Here's Marcus Weeks coming down. Now the rule is, as long as you jump before you hit the goal line, you can tap it back. It's sort of like a play in basketball, you know, where a guy runs and jumps out of bounds and throws the ball back in. That's the same rule that applies in football on the goal line.
One of the 49ers is down. Try to get a number there. We'll identify when we come back. We'll take a break right here. Back at Quest Field, Bryant Gumbel with Chris Collins, where center Eric Heitman is the 49er who is down on the field at the 5-yard line. 5th-year pro out of Stanford. He seemed to have gotten caught up in the wash there.
And watch number 55, Darryl Tapp, as he tries to reach around, just going to go right on top of the ankle, knee. And that's a big loss for the 49ers. Eric Heitman, probably their 2nd best offensive lineman behind the great Larry Allen. And so now as you continue down the depth chart, it gets tougher and tougher for these 49ers, especially on the offensive side.
The backup center listed is David Bass, but we saw Tony Raggi working snaps there with Alex Smith. Raggi is listed as the backup left guard. 2nd-year man out of New Mexico State, but
he's played a lot of football over the last couple years. Played with the Rhein Fire of NFL Europe, and then with the Los Angeles Avengers of the Arena League. So it's not like he hasn't been playing. He just hasn't been playing at this level. Yeah, not quite this level. And there's big Larry Allen, one of the great players in the history of this game, and obviously concerned about his mate.
I didn't know you were so up on NFL Europe. I'm impressed.
I'm not. Got the air cast, looks like, going on now, and certainly I'm not going to speculate as to what it may or may not be, but those offensive linemen are a family, you know, more so than any other group on the team. They live together, they eat together, they don't want to talk to anybody else, they don't want to hang out with anybody else, and when one of them goes down,
let's talk about the problems that San Francisco's offense has had, and part of it has been field position. They've had 3 drives this evening. One started at their 20, one at their 16, and this one at their 5. For a young quarterback who's having problems finding his way, that's not a formula for success.
Well, and at some point, you have to prove that you can throw the football, because it is like a shrinking envelope, you know? I mean, the more you throw it poorly, the more they come play the run. And at some point, Alex is going to have to prove that he can take it and throw it over the top. Even if it's incomplete, it's important at some point now, early in this game, that he take it and and try one down the field.
Would be risky business down and this deep in your own end.
It's too bad. Eric Heitman, really a good football player, and gives the fist and appreciates the support from the guys.
Still deep in his own end. Smith is faced with 2nd and 8. Frank Gore once again getting across the 10-yard line. Jordan Babinich was the one in there trying to strip him, and if Gore has had a problem this year, it has been with fumbles. He's lost 5 of them.
Yeah, when all else fails, just follow number 71, Larry Allen. Now, Larry, at one time, he looked more like a halfback coming around the edge and making that block. He certainly has slowed down a little bit, but when he gets his hands on you, it is still an ugly sight.
Third down, Gore gets it, and the 49ers will have to punt once again. Give Chuck Darby credit with the stop.
You know, I think Norv Turner, the offensive coordinator, is seeing exactly what I'm seeing as far as Alex Smith having trouble throwing the football. And again, as long as the score stays the way that it is, and you just turn around and give it to Frank Gore. But the problem is, you see the safeties now down playing linebacker. Ken Hamlin, he must have at least 4 tackles on the night. And when the safety's down there, that means they don't think you can beat them throwing the football.
Andy Lee will punt for the 3rd time tonight, this time from his own end zone. Burleson will field this at his 45. Gets back past the 45 of San Francisco before he's dragged down at the 43. We're inside 5 minutes of the first period, still awaiting our first score in Seattle. Back in Seattle, Washington at Quest Field on what has been a very rainy and windy Thursday night. And the Seattle Seahawks have been the ones moving up and down the field. The 49ers have had 3 3-and-outs. This is Alexander getting a carry.
Yeah, it really starts to weigh on a defense when your offense continues to play the way the 49ers have been playing offensively so far, not getting first downs, not being able to stay on the field for a little bit of time, not getting the running game or the passing game going. And so the burden now, as the field continues to shrink on this 49ers defense, gets tougher and tougher for San Francisco.
Seattle's been working a short field all night, the 43-yard line, their average starting field position. This is Hasselbeck swinging wide once again. DJ Hackett getting past the markers for an apparent first down.
And that's what makes it really tough. When the Seattle Seahawks are at their best, this is what they do. They pound the football, and then come out with the play action or the bootleg. You're spread out. You've got 3 and 4 wide receivers on the field. And it just is a very difficult thing as long as you can run the football first.
Deepest penetration for the night for the Seahawks. Alexander finding running room up the middle, cutting back to the right side, getting inside the 15-yard line before Mike Adams putting a stop.
Playing over on the left side, number 67, Rob Sims, getting his first start of the evening, and they get the double team down inside. But not only that, Rob Sims also able to get up on the second level of the linebacker. That's what we did not see out of Floyd Womack, and that's part of the reason they made the switch. Womack with a groin injury as well, but I think Sims the better player.
Hasselbeck with time, over the middle, overthrowing Deion Branch. With that last run, Alexander extending his own record to 62 games, consecutive games, with a run of at least 10 or more. And we've got our first flag, our second flag of the night.
Number 62, offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Chris Gray with the active hands.
And that has been part of the issue for Seattle. Not only mistakes on the offensive side, giving up big plays on the defensive side of the ball. And you know, it's a team that's been back and forth. And Mike Holmgren, from the days that coaching back in high school and Brigham Young and wherever you go, you just can't beat yourself, especially with this offensive team. They're too good.
On 1st and 20, Alexander gets it, heading inside. Ball comes loose. Looks like the 49ers are on it. Let's wait for a call. Certainly they were the first to get there. It looked like Walt Harris was the man who knocked it free. We don't want to know what's happening at the bottom of that pile. Preliminary indication, and indeed, the Seahawks will hang on to it. It was Walt Harris who came up and jarred it loose, and there were two 49ers on the ball, but they couldn't corral it.
Well, you could see that Sean Alexander was distracted, the tackler coming from the other way, and he just never saw Walt Harris, who came in and stripped the football away. It was Mark Roman who was there initially, and yeah, that's a pretty easy recover right there by Chad Williams, and he just let it go.
They're saying that Nate Burleson was the man at the bottom of the pile who came up with it. It'll leave the Seahawks first and goal from the 3. Alexander struggling, waiting for an indication. Touchdown, Seattle. Again, working that left side behind Walter Jones and Robbie Sims. First contact at the 2, but fought his way in.
But you got movement there. What you saw was Walter Jones and Rob Sims and Chris Spencer getting movement off the ball, and more often than not, especially down on the goal line, you don't see that in the NFL. You see guys that they have to pick a crack and somewhere to go, but when your offensive line can get a push backwards, it's going to be a touchdown.
Josh Brown makes it a 7-0 ball game. Seattle on the board first with 2:18 to play in the first period. They lead by a touchdown over San Francisco.
Walter Jones is going to get a huge push down this way, and you're going to see on the outside Keith Lewis one-on-one against Sean Alexander, and that's just not fair, not in a hole that big. No way to keep Sean out of the end zone. You know, Sean Alexander is a different runner down around the goal line. You know, out in the middle of the field, sometimes you'll say, okay, he'll go down and slide to a stop and avoid contact. But when he gets inside the red zone, he's a different guy there.
Even when he was in Alabama, he likes that line. Josh Brown will kick this one away. Maurice Hicks retreats 2 yards into his end zone. Can't decide what to do with it. Brings it out, and he'll get back to at least the 20, call it the 27, before he is dragged down. Jordan Babineau and Lance Lurie there on the stop. And as San Francisco's offense comes onto the field, Frank Gore, who is wired for sound tonight.
Not like Florida. All right. It's not like Florida, Frank. It's going to be raining, going to be snow. The great ones play in all kinds of weather. You step up. All right. You got to step up now.
Just like Florida, he said. Now you tell me where it is in Florida where it's got raining and snow. He said it's going to be raining, going to be snow.
North Florida, maybe.
North Florida, obviously. 49ers with their best starting field position of the night, just inside the 26. And they'll start it from 5 yards farther back, that's for sure.
False start. Number 47, offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
That's reserve tight end Billy Bajema. We've gotten word from the San Francisco locker room that Eric Heitman suffered a broken right tibia, so he's not only done for the night, but we would assume the season.
Yep. Here's that inverted wishbone formation we've seen from the 49ers.
Swings it back this side. This is Gore. Two blockers in front, pushed out as he crosses the 30-yard line. We've got a flag back inside the 20. Tony Romo's flair and talent have captured fans in the Lone Star State, but who is he? Where did he come from? You can find out this Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Flag just dropped out.
On the Who is Tony Romo show, including a candid conversation between Tony and Dion. There was no flag, just fell out.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
You must have seen it once.
Just fell out?
Just kind of fell out.
All right. Seen everything else tonight. Might as well see one of those.
49ers trying to get something going, anything going on what's been a bad night so far. This is Gore fighting through 2 tacklers for a gain of 2. Marcus Trufant was the one whose hold he broke before going down.
And Frank Gore is one of those guys that everybody just loves. I mean, he went through some issues. His family had some tough moments and had some learning disabilities growing up, but he always found a way to get through school, to get his work done. He lives in an apartment right next to the complex. You find him there at 10, 11 o'clock at night watching film. Everybody has nothing but nice things to say about that young man.
He's the kind of kid a lot of folks root for.
Sure do.
Smith will throw on 3rd down, throwing low this side. Vernon Davis short of the 1st down, and the 49ers will have to punt again.
And former 49er Julian Peterson out there, who's really one of the most athletic linebackers that there is. But you see, once again, Alex Smith, that's a bad throw. If he gets that ball out in front of Vernon Davis where he has a chance to catch it cleanly and turn up, he might pick up the 1st down. They were only about 1.5 yards short. He just looks like he's holding on to it, or, you know, he's just worried about it coming out of his hands.
Well, didn't you say his hands were not very large?
Well, that was the discussion last year for sure.
Andy Lee's been a busy man tonight. Burleson will let this one roll, and it does at the 30-yard line. We're down to the 10-second mark in the 1st period, and Matt Hasselbeck will lead his troops back onto the field. Been a tough night for the 49ers across the board. When they last met, they jumped out to a big lead with the help of some turnovers, but didn't generate much offense in the 2nd half, and we've seen more of that throughout this 1st period.
Yeah, Mike Nolan, he knows he's trying to get something established with his young quarterback. He's going to have to see all these different kinds of conditions and make something work for him eventually. This is a young man that won in high school. I think only lost 1 or 2 games. One in college. I think only lost 1 game as a starter, whatever, and has gotten to the NFL. And a little different story here.
Helps to have Reggie Bush in high school.
Yeah, it sure does.
Completes this one to Nate Burleson on what will be our final play of the 1st period. Shante Spencer coming up with the stop. At Quest Field, they'll change ends, but one ends as wet as the other on this Thursday night. Seahawks having things very much their own way. They lead the 49ers 7-0. We're back in Seattle where the 49ers first half woes continue. That graphic pretty much tells the story. Wow.
I mean, that's double some really bad teams.
I'm glad you said it. I was going to say not very successful clubs.
Oh, boy, and they've got a long way to go here offensively, and it's all going to be around Alex Smith and whether or not he can be good enough. You know, you start to look around at some of the guys like Vince Young this year and Matt Leinart, and even Jay Cutler getting a chance to start. And he was the #1 pick last year, the first player out of the entire draft. The 49ers.
All right. So give me an order. Those 4 guys, your team.
He's last.
He's last.
Yep. And it's not close.
Who's first?
Oh, you're going to hate this, but I still think Jay Cutler eventually will be the best of them. But Matt Leinart, I saw Matt Leinart last week on tape.
You think Cutler
awesome.
#1 of those 4?
I know, it's ridiculous. But Vince Young, he's been sensational, and I've been wrong before.
Good starting field position again for the Seahawks. This is Alexander off the left side. Coming up about 1 yard short of the 1st down. The Seahawks lead the 49ers 7-0, not only in points, but first downs tonight. 7 first downs for the Seahawks, none for the 49ers.
Yeah, and until the 49ers begin to take away this run, believe me, Mike Holmgren's going to be more than happy to just pound it at them. And defensively, Derek Smith, the outstanding middle linebacker, not in there, but this is a 49ers defense that has a lot of holes to fill in this upcoming draft.
We've got a whistle in our first time out of the night. Seattle calls it. I'm curious. Now, why do you pick Cutler ahead of...
I knew that was going to bug you all night.
It really does. I think it's strange. Why Cutler ahead of Leinart and Young?
And he hasn't shown anything yet. And he was terrible the other night, and I understand that. There are people that I know in the league that I really trust that think that this kid has everything. I watched him during the course of the preseason. He has a rocket arm. He's in an outstanding organization with Mike Shanahan. You know, eventually the Broncos are going to get their running woes fixed, and when they start running the ball, I think he'll start doing it. I don't know if it happens this year or in future years. And certainly an argument can be made with the way that Vince Young has come in there and done some remarkable things. The play he made at the end of the game the other night, just simply sensational. And Matt Leinart, I've talked to a couple people that have called him the natural.
He looked great last week.
He sure did. And where he just makes plays that you don't see out of rookie quarterbacks, and he was terrific a week ago.
3rd and short as we reach 9 o'clock in the East. Hasselbeck with a lot of time. Throwing this one